Good afternoon, everyone. Just switching over now. Sorry, I'm a little bit later today. There's been a lot of technology issues going on. I think we got most of them fixed. We hope. I just made up a video for some of you guys that are having issues with iTunes. So I know some of you guys still can't download on iTunes. I'll be uploading a video to YouTube in a little bit, probably right after this lesson, showing you guys how to fix that. Other than that, let's hope that, yeah, it looks like my iPad's working. I had to spend about 5 minutes trying to get the iPad to get up onto my PC screen. So we are going into, that's my wife's lessons. We're in Unit 10, Lesson 7. So we are going into adding and subtracting polynomial expressions. So let me first start off. I sent out a reminder earlier asking if anybody needed this emailed to them. And if you do, I can email that to you right now. I'll just kind of wait a second to see if anybody responds in the chat. How is everybody doing, by the way? We all stuck to our homes, like not able to do anything or go anywhere. Are you guys silently, like, you don't want to chat with me today? Hey, what's going on, Caitlin? Yeah, that's how I feel right now. I was actually just down in Silver Creek today. It looked like it was completely empty. There was nothing around. I had to go get my snow tires off my car. All right, it must be really delayed. Okay, usually it's only like a 2-3 second delay. Now I'm noticing everybody's ranks reset in Apex. Oh my gosh, find a new game. Find a new game, Hunter. All right, well, if you guys don't, if nobody needs it emailed to them, I won't worry about that right now. I'll just kind of go right into the lesson. I am going to still do the warm-up, but for the most part, everything that I'm going to be doing with you guys is just this front page. And you guys know how I work in my lessons. I'm not going to do the entire lesson. I'll skip around. But we'll do the front page today. We'll do the back page tomorrow. And then the homework assignment for this one, I haven't uploaded it to Shobi yet. But what's today? Today would be Tuesday. So I would make the homework assignment due by 9 p.m. on Thursday night. Again, those little time slots that I'm putting into Shobi, those aren't like the deadline. It has to be in by that time or you get a 0. It's more or less just a guideline so you guys can see which lessons we're doing, which homework assignments we're at. Okay? You're not going to get coronas here. You are going to be fine. So I'm going to start right off with the warm-up. I hope you guys remember what this little guy means right here. It's an imaginary unit or an imaginary number. So if we have 2 minus yi squared, we just have to make sure that we're taking that parenthesis and we're writing it out 2 times. So I'm just going to write it out twice. And if you guys notice that I go mute, this new mic that I bought, apparently the cable is a little faulty. So when my wife was streaming earlier, the mic was cutting in and out on her. I think that we fixed it right now, but we'll see what happens. After I get those 2 parentheses, I just have to make sure that I'm double distributing now. So I'm going to do the 2 times 2 and the 2 times negative yi. So I'll have 4 minus 2yi. And then I'm going to multiply the negative yi times 2 and the negative yi times negative yi. And this is going to give us another negative 2yi. And then when you do yi times yi, we have to make sure that both of those are becoming squared because you're doing y times y and I times I. Now from here, we can combine like terms. So I'm going to have 4 minus 4yi minus y squared I squared. And the one big thing that I wanted you guys to remember from your imaginary unit was what I squared is really equivalent to. I squared, we said, is really equal to -1. So technically, this problem can be simplified down to one more step. And we can say that this is going to become 4 minus 4yi. And if you change that I squared to -1, it's really just going to become a positive y squared. And that would be its simplest form. New York State may change that around and put it in highest to lowest degree form. So it would put the y squared first. It might put the imaginary number last. So I'm not going to flip it all around. As of right now, Hunter, we're being told, I got a text message from Mr. B yesterday. He said that he wants us to be able to do office hours using Zoom. So as of right now, I'm using office hours for Twitch, even though I had to cancel today. I apologize for that. It's not going to be on Twitch for much longer. We're just trying to get Zoom connected to all the computers, and then we have to get it connected to all of your guys' devices. So that way you could just drop into a chat, and then we could do... Zoom's just like it's a face-to-face chat. So think of FaceTime, but for conferences. You can have more than one person in there. My wife does it every day with her classes. She'll just sit on the screen, and if a student jumps in, they can just talk to her, ask questions on homework, anything like that. Okay. Wouldn't it be a positive y squared I squared? It is. In that last step, Tabitha, I don't know how delayed you are right now, but it does become positive over here. So when I changed that I squared to -1, I multiplied it to the y squared and it became plus. Okay. Olivia, your butt beef is now acceptable. You're welcome. All right, so I'm going to go back now. In exercise number 1, I'm going to go back to something you guys did in elementary school. Tabitha, it can. If you want to do it in the second step, you can. But you got to remember, when I do notes, I'm going to show every step possible. There's going to be at times where you can skip steps, and that's okay. Oh, I see where you're talking about. Ooh, good catch. Good catch. All right. So, see, this is the one downfall. This is why Zoom will come in handy, because we can actually talk to each other. I do have a mistake, and Tabitha pointed it out, and Sierra just mentioned it as well. When I distributed that yi and yi, good catch, guys. Those are both negative, so a negative times a negative would have made this y squared I squared positive. So this would become positive right here, which means it's positive down here. So now when I do -1 times y squared, it is going to become negative. Nice catch. There we go. Sorry for the people that are going to go back and watch this on YouTube. All right, so now I'm going to go down to the next one. So going back to elementary school, we did the same thing when we did the multiplying fractions. I have to go back and make sure you guys remember how to do adding fractions. So when you guys add fractions, you guys were first taught of something called LCD. And if you don't remember what that LCD stands for, it really just means least common denominator. So when we add or subtract fractions, we have to find a number that both of the denominators can fit into. So we have the numbers 3 and 4 in our denominators. So my goal is to just find a number. We want to find the smallest one possible. It's the least common denominator. The smallest one possible in this case for 3 and 4 would have to be 12. Because 3 can fit into 12 4 times, and 4 can fit into 12 3 times. So our goal is to make our denominators this 12. So I'm just going to come over to these fractions. I'll do the left one first. I have that 3. Well, we just said that we had to multiply that 3 by 4 in order to make it 12. When we're working with fractions, whatever we do to the bottom, we got to do to the top. So I'm going to do the same thing to the top. And then I'll just say what that new fraction is going to be. 4 times 2 is 8, all over 4 times 3, which is 12. We now have to do the second fraction. So when we go to do the second fraction, 4 times 3 would give us 12. Whatever we do to the bottom, we got to do to the top. So again, we're going to get our new fraction, which is going to be 9 over 12. And now, because we have a common denominator, we're allowed to add them together. We just have to remember when we add fractions together, we add the tops and we leave the bottom the same. If that can be reduced, you reduce it. But in this case, since it's 17 over 12, that's impossible to be reduced. So we are done. That's our solution. So everything that I'm going to do with you guys now is going to be the same exact thing, but we're going to have letters involved. So I'll do a couple with you on the front page, and then we'll call it quits for today. Cassidy, if you want to change it to a mixed number, you can. But a lot of the stuff that we do in Algebra 2, we're just going to leave them as improper fractions. Especially when we get down to these next ones, since they have variables in them, they kind of look ugly if you try to switch them into mixed numbers. So we're just going to leave them as improper for today. All right. So I'm going to jump down to part A for exercise number 2. So this is going to be the same type of problem. We have to look at these denominators, and we want to try to find an LCD. So I'm going to go right to part A. So I like writing it off to the side so I know what I'm trying to get my LCD to be. Again, these are notes. If you guys can see it right away, you'll be fine. So, is it improper on the regents? No, Monica, I was going to read off your name. Ella, you can leave it as improper, and there's no issues. Most of the time, any time on the New York State Regents, they're fine with improper fractions. I honestly don't know why they really go all in depth in middle school saying you guys have to switch them to mixed numbers, because it doesn't matter in high school. So what we're going to do is, the only difference is when we go to look at these denominators on this one, we have 4x and we have 6x. So we still got to look at the number. You want to find the smallest number possible that 4 and 6 can fit into. So in this case, just like the previous problem we did, the smallest one that we can fit them into is 12, because 4 can go into 12 3 times and 6 can go into 12 2 times. Okay? So if that is 12, now I'm just asking how many x's do you need for both of those to have a common denominator? Well, since they both already have 1x, we can just leave it as 1x. We don't have to change the x's at all because they're already there. So now that we know that this has to be our LCD, we just have to multiply it through to make sure that we match it. So if we look at that first one, we said that we would have to, and you know what? I'm not going to use the x for multiplication. I'm going to use as a dot, because now that we're going into variables, I don't want to confuse anybody. So if we're at 4x, That means we just have to multiply it by 3 to make that 12x. And whatever we do to the bottom, we got to do to the top. So the bottom is 12x. Just make sure on the top, because there are 2 terms, you're actually distributing that 3 to both of them. So this is going to be a 6x minus 15. Now we got to go do the second one. And if we do the second one, it looks like 6x would have to be multiplied by 2. And again, whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. So I have to take that 2 and distribute it into both of those terms. So again, we'll have the 12x on the bottom. But on the top, we're going to have 8x plus 4. Now, all the same rules apply as we just did up top. So the bottom stays exactly the same. If it will write, there it goes, 12x. And now we have to combine like terms on the top. So we got the 6x and the 8x that we can add together, which would give us 14x. And then we have, I already used blue. I used brown. You guys all love brown. Negative 15 and 4 would give us minus 11. So now we have that fraction. We just have to check to see if that fraction can be simplified. And now this is going back to the lesson we just did the other day. The only way you could check to see if this can be simplified is if you can factor the top or bottom and cancel anything out. Well, if you have 14x minus 11, I'm hoping you guys are seeing there's no GCF that works. There's no dots that works. And the bottom is 12x, so we can't factor that. So we can leave our final answer as this 14x minus 11 over 12x. So I'll give it a second so you guys can catch up. I see my wife responded to the regents. I wasn't looking at chat. Yeah, as of right now, we have heard nothing about the regents. There is a possibility that it could just be delayed, meaning that it might go to the summer. They already give out the regents exams in August, but honestly, it just depends on what's going to happen with this whole virus. If it's gone within the next month or 2, then we might be okay. If not, we'll see what happens. Ella, you can only cancel them out if everything is factored down. So if this said 14, this minus 11, that's right here, is kind of, oh, that's a bad color. I don't want to do that. This minus 11 right here, it's married to that 14x. So you can't just cross off the x's because that 11 belongs to it. I'll show you guys when you can cancel them out because we're going to do another problem that's going to be attached to it. Okay. So as far as part A goes, I hope you guys have an okay understanding with that. Let's go to part, we'll just do part B. Mariah, you don't work. Don't act like you work. Dancing, she says dancing's a job. Swimming's a job. You and your family. Oh, do I have the sound on? Oops. My bad. You guys got to hear the wonderful, I don't even know which guinea pig that was. Oh, that one was Blanche? Blanche with the sunglasses. What's going on, Shannon? So, if we look at part B, we got 4x minus 1 over 5x plus x plus 5 over 10. Very similar to the last one. What we want to do is get that LCD. So I'm just going to write the LCD off to the side. And our goal is to get the bottoms to be the same. So right now, we got 5x and we have 10. So I say always focus on the number first. If you have 5 and you have 10, you want to find the smallest number that they both can possibly fit into. Now, a lot of people, what they're going to do is say, oh, I could just take 5 and 10 and multiply them together and get 50. 50 is a number that 5 and 10 can fit into, but it's not the smallest number possible. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look at to see how many times 5 fits into 10. I know 5 times what would give us 10. I know 5 can fit into 10, so 10 is going to be that smallest number. I also have an x that's in the bottom on the left side, so I need to have an x that's on the bottom on the right side. So we know that there needs to be an x in the denominator as well. Okay? So I need it to be 10x. Now I'm just going to multiply it through just like we did in the last problem. First one, I'm going to have to multiply it. Oh, I got to use the dot. I can't use the x. I got to multiply it by 2. Whatever you do to the bottom, do to the top. On the other side, I'm going to have to multiply it just by x because it's already 10. And now I'm going to multiply through. I can have 8x minus 2 all over 10x. And I know I'm going a little bit faster now, but you guys have a video where you can play back and rewatch if you need to slow it down. I'm distributing the x on the other side, so I have x squared plus 5x all over 10x. And then what you guys need to do is make sure that you combine like terms. You can only combine like terms on the top. The bottom stays exactly the same. So I know I'm going to have 10x on the bottom. And I like writing it in standard form. So when I go to add the tops, I know x squared is going to come first. And then I have an 8x plus a 5x. So I can add those two together. 8x plus 5x is going to give me that 13ax. And then I'm going to have minus 2. Oh, I thought I gave you one that I could factor. I must have did it in the next one. Do you want me to put the parentheses in? Love how Hunter, he's like, put the parentheses in so we know that we need to distribute. Yet he already knows he needs to distribute. Okay. Now, if you look at that top, x squared plus 13x minus 2, it cannot be simplified. There is no way you guys can factor that. So if you can't factor it, there's nothing you can do. Okay? That would be your final answer. You're done. So is there any questions with part B? And again, just waiting a little bit because I know my video is a little delayed for you guys. So I guess the last thing I'm going to do with you guys is I'll probably just do both these problems on the bottom just so you guys have some practice to look at both. Man, I always say I'm going to go 15 minutes, and I look and I see I've been going for 27. Whatever. All right, so if we look at part A, this one's a little bit different because you're going to notice there's a binomial on the bottom. All the ones that we did above, they have only single terms. So when you guys look at part A, what we need to do is we have to factor everything first before we find an LCD. So if you guys look at these denominators, they're not completely factored. So if I want to factor this 5y minus 15, I'm going to pull out the 5. And I should probably leave a little room. Oh, I forgot we're on square. So I could pull out a 5, and we would be left with y minus 3. So all I'm doing is factoring the denominators. The numerators are staying the same because I can't factor with the 4. Plus, I have y squared minus 9, and that could be factored with the use of dots, difference of 2 squares. So the 5 is still going to be on the top, but I can rewrite y squared minus 9 as y plus 3 and y minus 3. So as far as finding an LCD for this, we need to get both those denominators to look exactly the same. The only thing that's currently the same in both of those denominators is that y minus 3. So we know that both denominators have to have the y minus 3 in it. But if you guys look at the first one, I'll do it in red, we have a 5 here. So that means we need to get a 5 into the second fraction as well. So what I'm going to do is in my LCD, I'm just going to write a 5 out front. Focus on the lesson. You guys are getting too distracted. So now I got 5 times y minus 3. Well, I also notice in the second fraction, I have a y plus 3 on the bottom. So I know that my LCD has to have that y plus 3 as well. So my LCD has to have all 3 of those pieces in order for both of them to be the same. So when you guys go to solve this out, I know that I'm going to have to multiply my first fraction by y plus 3. So whatever I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top. And I know I'm going to have to multiply my second fraction by 5. Because that's the only pieces that was missing in those denominators. So now I'm just going to multiply it out. So the first one, notice, Hunter, I have parentheses, so you have to distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 4 into both the y and the 3, and I'm going to have 4y plus 12 all over. Now, I'm not going to multiply all this out because our goal is to just get a common denominator. So I'm just going to write the 5 out front because I like putting the whole number out front. Y plus 3, y minus 3. Plus 5 times 5 is just going to be 25. And again, the entire denominator is exactly the same as long as I bring that 5 out front. So just like what we did before, in order to add these two fractions together, what I'm going to do is combine those tops. What are you trying to say? Tessa, let me finish the problem first, and then I'll come back and answer your question. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the top. So I'm going to have 4y plus 12 plus 25. If I combine like terms, the top is going to be 4y plus 27 all over 5 times y plus 3 times y minus 3. Tessa, you said LCD is y plus 3 and canceled the 2 y minus 3s and canceled the 2 5s. Oh, this is addition, Tessa. If it was multiplication, what you're saying is completely correct. But because we have the addition sign in the middle, we have this little plus sign right here, we can't cross cancel like we were doing the other day. Okay. Oh, yeah. 12 plus 25 can be 27. I don't need to hear this. This is the most you guys have ever paid attention in any of my classes. Okay. And man, I made this lesson really easy. We don't even have to simplify anything. That would be it. We're done. So I must have made these lessons a little bit easier for you. So I'm just going to do one more. I'm going to do this last one a little bit faster just so I can break it down, and I don't want this video going on too much longer. So I'm going to go over to part B. Again, if you had questions on part A, you could just jump back and you can rewind the video once I'm done filming. So first thing that we have to do is factor our denominators. So when I go to factor this first one, I'm still going to have x minus 3 on the top. And then on the bottom, it looks like I'm going to have x minus 5 and x minus 4. Plus, I'm still going to have that 2 on the top. But on the bottom, I'm going to have x minus 4 and x minus 2. So again, our goal is to get an LCD. So when we go to do the LCD in this one, I already know that x minus 4 is in both of them. So one of my LCDs has to be x minus 4 because it's already there. I had it here and I had it here. Now all I'm doing is writing what else needs to be in that denominator. Well, we also need an x minus 5 because that's in the first one. And we also need an x minus 2 because that's in the second one. So my denominator has to have all three of those in order to be common. So I'm just going to multiply it through. The first fraction, I know that I'm missing an x minus 2. So I have to multiply that to top and bottom. And in the second fraction, I know I'm missing an x minus 5. So I'm going to multiply that to top and bottom. And now we just have to distribute. Be careful in the first fraction because you are going to be double distributing. So if I double distribute that, I know I'm going to go a little bit faster here. It is going to be x squared minus 2, I'll do minus 3x first, minus 2x plus 6 all over x minus 2, x minus 5, x minus 4. Plus, I could distribute that 2 in. So I'm going to have 2x minus 10 all over. And it doesn't matter which order you put the parentheses in. I'm going to stay consistent with the first fraction, and I'm going to put the x minus 2 first, the x minus 5 second, and the x minus 4 third. So our goal was to get the LCDs to be the same. Now that they are the same, all we're looking to do is combine like terms. So as far as the x squared goes, there is no x squared that we can combine that with. So I'm just going to leave x squared. I can combine the negative 3x, the negative 2x, and the positive 2x. Well, the 2x's are really just going to cancel out, so we're only left with negative 3x. And then the last part is just going to be 6 and negative 10. Well, if we combine those together, it's just going to give us negative 4. All over x minus 2, x minus 5, and x minus 4. Technically, there is one more step, and this is the one that I thought was going to happen in part A. So I'm going to show this, and then I'm going to end the stream here. So technically, we just have to make sure the fraction is completely simplified. So in order to completely simplify the fraction, we have to make sure everything is factored. Well, if you look at the numerator, if you look at the top portion of this fraction, x squared minus 3x minus 4, this can be simplified. I can break that down into x plus 1 and x minus 4. The bottom's still the same, x minus 2, x minus 5, and x minus 4. Now we're back into what Tessa actually mentioned probably about 5-10 minutes ago. Now if you look at this, it is all, ooh, didn't mean to do that. Now that you look at this, it is all multiplication. Because everything in here is multiplying, we can look to see if there's anything that's the same on the top and bottom. Well, in this case, we have an x minus 4 that's the same on top and bottom. So those can cancel out. Since those cancel out, we're just left with that x plus 1 all over x minus 2 times x minus 5. Okay. So I zoomed out so you guys can see that whole problem. I'm going to end it here because, like I said, if I make these videos too long, it takes a while for it to upload to YouTube. So office hours will be on tomorrow. So if you guys stop on around 1 o'clock tomorrow, I will be doing office hours on Twitch. I will help out with the homework. The homework, again, is not due until Thursday. So you guys have a homework assignment. It is homework number 7. You guys only can do the adding ones right now. You can't do the subtracting unless you think you know what you're doing for the subtracting. I'm going to do the subtraction with you guys tomorrow. So it should already be uploaded to iTunes because I already downloaded it on mine. iTunes, yeah, Unit 10, homework number 7. It should already be on here. So right now, it's only one page. You technically can do the first 5 problems. If you want to do it now, you can, but it's not due until tomorrow, 9 p.m. Or I'm sorry, Thursday, 9 p.m. I'll upload that into Shobi so you guys have that due date. Okay? But you don't have to do it right now. So I hope everybody had an awesome time. Don't be afraid to stop down tomorrow, 1 o'clock. I can answer any questions you guys have on any of your homeworks. Other than that, have an awesome evening, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.